What's up? What's up? It's your girl Michelle with those Reign Drop Convos and
Stacey, what's up, guys?
what we talking about tonight, chick?
Girl, we are talking about this big hoopla with Monique telling Black women to stop wearing bonnets and pajamas outside of your house. Apparently, Miss Monique went to the airport and saw some pajamas and saw some bonnets, and she wasn't happy about that. So she has or had a word for Black women this week, and it went viral. So that's what we're talking about today.
Sounds good, man. Let's get into this conversation right
All
now.
right.
Alrighty. So I have, done a little research. At first I didn't think it was like a big deal, a big topic until I started seeing some things popping up in my news feed and all of that. And I, heard a few different perspectives. One of the most interesting things that I found in my research today, because as I started to dive into it, I saw a little research about, Black women, slave women back in the day wearing bonnets,
Mm-hmm.
and how this article pointed out that it became unfashionable after slaves were freed, because it kind of associated bonnets with those slave times. And then I also saw in that same article they compared and contrasted the beautiful African women that have bonnets that are just automatically a part of their outfits and all of their beautiful, African fabrics and things. So
Mm-hmm.
I've heard some interesting perspectives, and I've got my own opinion about it. But let me know what you think, Chick.
I mean, I think that Monique has a right to state her opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that it's going to necessarily change other people's actions. It's just the topic that we're talking about right now. But on one hand, I kind of vacillate on this one because on
Mm-hmm.
one hand, I feel like people can do what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
If they pay for their plane ticket, or if they drove their car, however they got to the grocery store or wherever they are, outside of the house with this attire on, that's on them. But I also understand what she's saying. When we look back in
Mm-hmm.
our history and we look at, the women that we consider beautiful for just, let's say the 60s, or
Mm-hmm.
50s, 40s, Dorothy Dandridge, Lena Horne, like those type women, would you see those women out in bonnets?
Right.
Probably not, and
Mm-hmm.
that they are the epitome of class and lady and being a lady. So I kind of I understand what she's saying. It is, you are representing yourself. And so how do you want to present yourself to the public? Is that what you want people to see and perceive? Because there is a perception that goes along with going out like that. And I was reading today in one of the articles, maybe Yahoo, where they were kind of discussing whether or not this was respectability politics, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that this has anything to do with white America or how you present yourself to white America. It's simply how you present yourself to anyone outside of
Mm-hmm.
your home. What image do you want to portray? And that's kind of, I vacillate between, like I said, between that and that's on you, boo.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What do you think?
Well, I heard I listened to Ricky Smiley's take on the whole thing, and he had a really interesting perspective, and not so much interesting. It really is, pretty traditional, which is,
Mm-hmm.
if you, the thing is, she was just simply providing, and he compared and contrast the fact that, when Kevin Samuels tells you that you're average at best, he tells you exactly how it is. But as soon as Monique comes to you and says something in love, she's like, hey, this is your auntie Neek. And I'm just saying, ladies, if we are the queens that we say we are, then
Mm-hmm.
let's just, make sure we're presenting ourselves in that way. And everyone now it's like, oh, we got to cancel Monique. And so I don't know. I think maybe it's
That's
just it
crazy.
is. And possibly it's a generational thing because every celebrity or most of the celebrities that are in our age bracket, I'm hearing them say, you know what? My grandma told me it was no way that you are going to walk out of the house with sponge rollers,
Correct.
hair scarves. You just didn't go out like that. And so
Correct.
whatever their reason was, it was just already instilled. Sometimes you don't know why they tell you you need to look a certain way. And maybe they had their own reasons, which is, you need to be respectable. And it's all, because I think Tammy Roman on her Bonnet Chronicles said that she was kind of like, oh, we're feeling ashamed of what other Black people are doing and feels like it reflects on us. And, maybe some of that has, a little something to do with it. But at the end of the day, like you say, people are going to do what they're going to do. But I just know that my kids, and I mean, and just period, point blank, saying it right here live in color, that I would not allow them to walk out of the house looking like that. I mean, period. You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean,
it's not gonna happen.
there was a time where you didn't go out the house with wrinkles in your clothes. I mean, my mom made me iron my clothes every, night to make sure that I was presented, correctly. And so it's just a matter of self-respect, I think. Listen, I remember graduating from college and when I say this, I mean, from a generational perspective, that's just how they were taught. That's how the boomers and, before, that's how they were taught, that you present yourself in a certain way, not just in front of white America, but in front of your own community.
Right.
And so I remember the 80s, women wore suits to work. Women wore pantyhose. They, they dressed up to go to work every day and suited up for even, secretarial positions. And so I remember graduating from college and my mom thought it was like this wonderful idea because I had gotten a job at a law firm and she thought it was this wonderful idea to go buy me all these suits. And I mean, I'm good suits, like Casper and Klein, like real good suits, but I was kind of like, girl, nobody does that anymore. But that's how they were programmed. They were programmed or they were conditioned to, that's how you look and that's how you present yourself in corporate America or in the workplace. So it's just a generational thing. I think that everyone needs to really cut her some slack because I've seen her being compared to Bill Cosby and his whole his I don't know what you want to call it, diatribe. I don't know. But, his whole rant about pulling up your pants. Well, he wasn't wrong. He was only talking about what he saw, and it was from his vantage point, from his perspective. And I think that that's what Monique is doing. She's not wrong. Whether you want to accept what she's saying or not, that's on you. But at the end of the day, it does depend on if you're okay with presenting yourself like that, then go ahead. Like her saying that she was going to start tapping sisters on the shoulder. Nah, I wouldn't go that far. Because if that's what you want to do, at least you've been told how it looks.
Right. Yeah. Well, when Ricky Smiley on his video, he did mention that, on a few occasions that he's been approached. He was at a Walmart or some store and two girls came up to him and were like, "Oh, Ricky Smiley, we love you. Oh, I can't believe it." And they had bonnets and house shoes on and, all of that. And so he was like, "Hey, nice to meet you guys." And he said he told them, straight out. He admitted that he would never have had the nerve to put out a video like this that Monique did. So he applauded her for even just, being able to do that and knowing what the backlash could possibly be with all this whole cancel culture that's going on. But he was saying, he told those girls that he met in that store, he was like, "You know what, ladies?" He was like, what's up with the bonnets? He was like, when you're out and about, you never know when you're going to meet somebody that's a potential, job someone that can give you a
Yeah.
job, someone that can,
Mm-hmm.
possibly a husband, someone that is your boss.
A
And so he,
mentor, right?
yeah. And he was like, so you don't want to limit your opportunities because unfortunately or fortunately, we live in a society where how you look makes a difference. I can
It
honestly say,
does.
like I say, I have professional photos on my Facebook business page simply because no, I mean, honestly, are you going to hire me to be your web designer if I'm wearing a bonnet in my profile pic? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Let's just keep it 100. So it's just
True.
about, how you present yourself. And I would be afraid to run into a client out on the street if I was not looking my best because it's a certain level of confidence that people have to have
Correct.
in you. And
Correct. When you
so
take care of yourself,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, and maybe,
And they
and we're
see
not
that.
that
Yes.
right, and we're not that far removed, really, from those slave days where once we integrated, we when Black people integrated, they wanted to integrate the right way. So when you think about the Black Wall Street, I mean, we when we
Mm-hmm.
started our businesses, we had the 3-piece suits, and our families
Absolutely.
were wearing the best, and we had our
Yes.
own, and we wanted to. It wasn't about impressing white people. It was
No.
about living our best life when we went from
Yes.
having to wear rags to now being able to build our own economy and buy the types of things that we wanted that made us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hey, when you
If
put on
you
a
look at
nice
the old
outfit,
pictures, you
yeah,
see that. I
thank
found a
you.
picture of my grandfather
Hmm.
and standing next to this bad car. But
Yeah,
I mean, his suit looked like it was tailored. You know what I
right.
mean? And you could tell just the fineness of the, fabric used, and
Hmm.
it fit, And so back then, people really cared about their style. They cared about
Hmm.
their image. They cared about how they were seen in their community.
Right. Right.
And we don't do that anymore. Now, I'm not saying that every time you go out, like, you should have
Hmm.
on a full face of makeup, like,
Right.
there's an insecurity there if you feel like you can't go out without a
Right.
full face of makeup, lashes and all.
Hmm.
But you should also care more than to just go out looking like you just rolled out of bed too. You know what
Right.
I'm
Yeah,
saying?
there's two extremes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have to take pride.
Hmm.
Um, but again, if you're okay with people automatically ascribing, because I was reading another article that says that people unfortunately ascribe a certain class level when they see that type of
Hmm.
behavior.
Right.
And unfortunately, people automatically assume that you're low class. It may not
Hmm.
be true. You know what I
Right.
mean? I'm
Right.
pretty sure if you're flying to wherever across seas and you go to the airport with a bonnet on, well, you got money to pay for the trip. So clearly you're not, broke and destitute. But it still says something about, like, who you are for real. Because I remember a day when you went to the airport, when you were going on a flight, you
Hmm.
dressed up.
Right.
You
It
look
was like a big
nice.
deal. Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah,
like
that was
a
a
big
big
deal.
deal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get comfort, I get comfortability, but look,
Hmm.
I went to Europe, and that's however many hours the flight was,
Hmm.
10, 12, I don't know, maybe more than that. But
Hmm.
all those hours, and my mom was still like, you still putting on clothes. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Right. Right.
So I don't know. It's just, I think we've gotten lax just as a
Hmm.
culture, as a society. We've just
Yeah.
gotten really, really lax about everything.
Yeah, because I mean, it extends beyond just the bonnets. I mean, just people in general, just some of the things that you see, out in public that I think are just kind of, a bit inappropriate. And some
Mm-hmm.
people just don't know any better. But the thing is, that's their business. Like you said, that's their business. Everybody has free will. But the thing is, don't be upset when the choices that you make have consequences. So, like I said,
Absolutely.
I
And we
am
talked
very
about that earlier.
right, right.
Every decision that you make
Mhm.
has a consequence. And as we talked about earlier, even your most honorable decision
Right.
has a consequence,
Right.
period.
Mhm.
So you have to be willing to accept whatever comes with the decisions that you make.
Mhm.
So, yes, you have every right, free will, free choice, all that good stuff to wear whatever you want to wear outside the house. But when people start talking about it, you also need to understand that that's that consequence that we're talking about, and
Mhm.
just chill and listen. That's it. You
Right.
can agree to disagree. It's fine. But
Right.
at the end of the day, like, this is how it's perceived.
Exactly. And
And
don't
you
be
have to understand
disrespectful.
that.
And don't be disrespectful to the people that are sharing their knowledge. I mean,
Right.
Monique has years of experience. She has
Correct.
been through the ringer and has been canceled
I was
even
gonna
in
say she's
some
been
circles
canceled
of Hollywood.
before.
Right. Even in some major circles in Hollywood, just for going against, Tyler Perry and Lee Daniels and just, a lot of the things that she's gone through. So she is really stepping out on a limb. And so I don't think she do it to her own detriment. It's just to say, it's time for, those that want to come up higher to come up higher. Because when you have a mentor, let's say if you have a mentor and you really respect that person, you're going to do what they ask you to do. You're going to, hey, I want to be better in my life. I want to, I want that 6-figure job. Well, if they tell you
Right.
you need to take the bonnets off and watch where, when you're networking, and networking can happen at the grocery store, the gas station, or anywhere. So just know that the choices you make and your appearance, has a lot to do with how people are going to perceive you. I don't care if you think that it's not fair. I should be. No, not in this society. Maybe in another society, but in American society, your appearance is the first thing people judge you on,
It
how you
is.
look.
I mean, and it's unfortunate,
Hmm.
and it is what it is. You
Right.
know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
There are some things that there are double standards,
Hmm.
and they are embedded into our culture,
Right.
and it just is what it is.
Exactly. And so there are certain businesses that I may decide not to patronize if they allow certain things that I've deemed as inappropriate. And so there are certain things that I'm going to allow my kids to wear and to not wear that I deem inappropriate. Now, while they're in my home, I'm their mentor, I'm their guardian, I am their, the person that tells them what I think is moral and immoral. Now, once
Hmm.
they leave this home, it's up to them. They can do and decide how to live their life. But like we said, bringing it back to the beginning, there are consequences to the choices that you make. And if you're not getting the opportunities in these United States and in this society that you want, you might just want to evaluate, how you're acting, how you're behaving, how you're speaking. Like I say, I love
Oh, wait a minute. You just said evaluate. So number one, as you were talking,
it.
I was listening to you, but I was also thinking, like, people don't appreciate free game. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
Like, people don't appreciate, because somebody could be selling the same thing that Monique said in a book or something,
Oh,
some
our coaching
self-help book,
program. Thank you.
and it would make a killing, and
Right,
people will be like, dang, why didn't anyone ever tell me this?
right.
But it's literally free game, and you can take it or you can leave it. But like you said earlier, you have to understand, if you're getting certain outcomes, you have to do that self evaluation to
Mhm.
say, could it be me? What am
Right.
I doing wrong
Mhm.
that is contributing to the outcome that I keep getting, or the
A
outcomes that I keep getting?
and I'm
And
telling
I don't
you,
think that
ooh,
people are doing that self evaluation.
girl, not at all. And I'm telling you, even down to my business as a web designer, when I am designing a website for a customer, the first thing I ask them is, do you have professional images, for your website? Whether they're, if they're selling a product, you need to have really nice professional images, because the thing, it says so much about if someone is willing to actually click the buy button on your site. Even if you're presenting a picture of yourself, it needs to be a professional, photograph, because the thing is, it's the perception at the end of the
Correct.
day. So, like you say, it's free game. If you're not
Presentation.
successful, right? If you're not successful in your life right now, you might need to look and think, hey, well, what am I doing wrong? Is there something if there's something wrong with my resume? Is there something wrong with the way
Right.
I'm,
Just
my hair
do
looks,
a
the way I'm
wellness check.
dressed? Right.
Right.
Right. And you might actually see some things improve in your life. So don't be so quick to, throw people away that are just offering things that have worked for them.
Advice, right? Like,
Obviously
right.
it's gotten her, to where she was, and even just speaking up on that has probably cost her, even more than it should have, but it's still free game. And it's something that somebody's smart enough to say, you know what, you're right, man. I'm not going to be wearing this bonnet out because I don't know. I might run into the guy
You
that
never
is
know.
the manager of Home Depot where I've been trying to get a job for the last, year and a
Right.
half or
Try. And I
something.
mean, the worst thing that you can ever do is an elevator pitch in a bonnet. I
I
mean, not to
mean,
say that's
come
the worst
on,
thing you ever
dude.
do,
I,
but
I
please don't do
mean,
that.
just
Please
thank
don't.
you.
And so you never know what opportunity, and that's why it's
Mhm.
important to always look presentable, because you never know when you might get the opportunity. Like that
Right.
day you go to the store, maybe that same day that the person who has the
Mhm.
key to unlocking, your dreams, your potential,
Right.
whatever,
Right.
is there at that same time. It's fate.
Mhm.
And you looking not presentable or unpresentable,
Mhm.
that's going to kill that opportunity, like straight up. Because unfortunately, when people meet you, the first thing they see is your image, and they make assumptions, and it's inherent. We all do it. We all
Exactly.
have bias, in
Right.
some way. And so we make quick, prejudgments about people based
Mhm.
on the way they present themselves. So you have to, if you're trying to get somewhere in this world, in this life, if you're trying to be successful, you have to dress that part. You have to look that part.
Right.
And that's it.
Right. I've been a
And you
hiring
never want to
manager.
get caught slipping.
I
You know
I
what I
have
mean? You never
right.
want to get home and be like, dang,
Dang,
I
I
would have
blew
said
it.
something to, old girl or old boy that
Right.
could have taken my career from here to, to
Right.
here, from here to zenith,
Right.
but I didn't look presentable enough to where I felt confident enough to
Right.
even walk up to that person and present my idea to them. You
Right.
never want to be in that position, because that's a lost opportunity, and you never know if you're going to get that back. And I think that that's just what she was saying.
Right.
Like, you just always want to bring your A game. That's
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
It's not, to clown. And I think that what she said was out of love, and
Mhm.
she said that. And there's a problem when you have, this whole population that's so ready to hear the opposite of love. they're
Mhm.
so they're so used to hearing hate,
Criticism. Right.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean, that they
Mhm.
can't receive or accept when someone's saying something just out of love. Like, it's
Right.
not judging you, it's not telling you what you got to do,
Mhm.
but it's just out of love. I'm just letting how it's seen. That's it.
Right. Right.
And that's all
And
she was doing.
yeah, and I hope that, somebody, for all those that may have been offended, and, there were some ugly comments out there about her. I hope for all those that were not offended, I hope they actually, took that in, because the thing is, there is a certain amount of etiquette when you go to company parties and the company picnics and things like that. There's just a certain etiquette, because that's just what is expected in certain, hey, if you're running your own, even if you're running your own business, I mean, I'm running my own business, and I have to have a certain etiquette. I have to have a certain way that I speak to my customers online. I can't speak to them the way me and you chop it up, girl. They'll be like,
Right,
oh,
right.
that's
And
just totally
if I saw my website designer somewhere with a whole cat suit on that didn't
it
fit,
would.
I would be
You'd
really
be like,
upset.
well, right, because you'd be like, wait, now my
Your
project is due
judgment
next
is
week.
off.
Right, and my project's due next week. Are you gonna get it? You lose confidence in
Faith, yeah.
people when you're seeing things that are just kind of outside of what you do in your bedroom, in your home is fine. But the thing is, if you're trying to make it some, and I'm just strictly speaking to the people that's trying to do something in life in America, there are just certain rules that you have to follow. You might not like them, but it is what it is. Period. And
I
I'm
mean,
gonna leave it at that. You know.
I get a little, and the bonnet thing has been a thing for me. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's probably more widespread now. People are kind of going more places after the pandemic, and
Hmm.
our mental health is shot to hell right now as a whole,
Right. Right.
society, like, period.
Yeah.
And so I remember even before the pandemic and all of that,
Hmm.
there was a new neighbor, and she used to walk this dog every day or whenever,
Mhm.
every other day, however often she walked the dog that I saw her. But it was always with a bonnet on her head. And I would just be like, why? Like,
Right.
if I'm not understanding. And yeah, it was, there's just a certain stigma attached.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Especially if your wig or your weave is hanging out the bonnet, just
Yeah.
go and take that off, boo. Like, you
And
just
yeah,
go on and take that off before
we're
you walk out the house. That's it.
right, right. Because
But
like you said,
there's no reason to be mad about somebody
yeah,
saying that.
yeah,
That's
and
just
you know what?
stupid and it's a waste of energy.
And it's funny that you said the pandemic because I think the pandemic really made a lot of people lazy too. Because I'm telling you, when
Yeah.
I first started with everything, I was like, okay, the kids going to be virtual learning. Girl, I mean, I was like, y'all are putting on clothes. You're going to put on a show. You are just because you're learning and from home does not mean that you don't still get up and put on clothes and come down and present yourself in front of this video camera, in a presentable way. That was just so
Girl.
important to me because I think it made a lot of people lazy, and
No,
just
it did.
like,
Like people were
yeah.
ordering pajamas left and right just so they could wear pajamas all day. But what during the pandemic, what really, I think the moment that I was like, yo, get up, snap out
Mhm.
of it, snap
Yeah.
out of everything being closed, was I used to do these Friday calls with this group of women, wonderful group of women. And I used to do these Friday calls, and there was a woman on there, and she was 98 years old, and I was friends with her granddaughter, and so her granddaughter was, there, and she would tell me like, no, Granny gets up every single day, like
Hmm.
without fail, gets dressed like she's going out, puts on her
Hmm.
earrings, puts on her little fly,
Hmm.
gear, puts on her makeup, her lipstick, like every single day.
Hmm.
And that was the motivation that I needed to be like, girl, you're not running around here every day looking like who did it and why. No, ma'am. If
Right.
this woman can do it at 98, you better get your butt up every day and get cute.
Right. Exactly.
Even
If
if
for
it's just
nothing
to look
else,
in your own mirror.
that's what I was about to say. If for nothing else, just for your own,
That's
self
it.
confidence. Because
You know how
yeah,
many days I stand
girl.
here and my exercise is dancing to the music blasting,
Right.
looking in that long full length mirror. Girl, just about every day.
Thank you. Thank you. Because I'm telling you, I
Just
fell
about
off.
every day.
I fell off a little bit too during the pandemic. I was just like, what is the point? Let me just wear my sweats. But there are days when I just really go full on. Where
What?
I'm just like, during that pandemic, I was putting on and I was doing a lot of live videos and stuff like that because it kept me motivated. Because the
Yeah.
thing is, people were feeling so afraid. No one knew what was going on. And so you
Hmm.
had to just keep living life. So, I
No, I
mean,
mean we lost a lot of people. There was so much
yeah,
loss throughout that year. Like
right.
if you weren't touched in some kind of way,
Mhm.
even if it was nobody in your family, but just seeing what was going on globally, I
Yeah,
mean, you had to be touched in some kind of way. And
right.
just thinking about all the people that didn't make it, like all the
Hmm.
people, not just those that died of COVID, but those
Hmm.
that took their own lives, like
Right.
because of the isolation, because that it was just too much.
Yeah, yeah.
It was just too much to be so isolated from everybody,
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I mean, we have to give ourselves some leniency too. We have to kind
Yeah.
of, let ourselves know that it's okay.
Right. And
It's okay.
let's bounce back because at the end of the day, it's all in love. And so this podcast is a lot about love and relationships and not always related to men and women, but it's about love and relationships just between
Period.
us as people.
Yes.
It's the love that we have for one another, and
Yes.
to know that it's not about chastisement. It's not about condemning someone for their behavior. It's about saying, y'all, let's go ahead and step it up. Let's get back to what we do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let's get back to us. Let's get back to what we do and showing the world that we are the trendsetters. Black people set trends, and the
All
last thing
day.
I don't want to see us setting trends for for that. You know what I'm saying?
No, and you
I don't
don't
want to
want
see that to be
another
the
negative
trend.
stereotype ascribed to Black people. Like
Right.
we don't need it.
We don't. We don't. We don't.
And we're so above that. Like we've made so
Mm-hmm.
many strides, to get where so many of us have been able to get, be
Mm-hmm.
it in whatever field. If you got running water, you got electricity,
Right.
gas, you got hot what, like you got transportation, a little
Yeah.
bit of money in the bank, even if it's just a little,
Yeah.
you doing better than half the
At the
people,
in the world,
globally.
girl.
For
Thank you.
real. And so I think that, we have to be able to appreciate what we have and
Mm-hmm.
appreciate where we are, but we also need to know that there's always better. We
Mm-hmm.
there's no harm in someone telling us how we could do it a little bit better to get a little bit further. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And as my mama used to say, take what you could take. I'm gonna tell you what I want to tell you. Take what you could take, leave the rest.
Right.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's all I can
Exactly.
ask.
That's it. That's it.
And,
Because at the
and
end
you
of the
and
day,
it,
you're making your own. You make your own decision.
that's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
Well, at 18, before 18, I make those decisions for you.
Right. Right.
For
Right. Oh
my
yeah,
kids
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. Same here. Same here.
Right.
Same
But at
here. So,
18, yeah, you're making your own decisions and hopefully you're taking my teachings and,
mm-hmm.
your parents' teachings with you as
Right.
you try to navigate throughout this world. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing I want to instill in my kids is always be willing to listen. You can learn from a baby,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to be open.
Right.
You can actually learn something from a fool, even if it's not how to act. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
But you have to be willing to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And again, take what you can take and leave what you can't use.
You're
That's
right.
it.
You're right about that. Well, this has been an awesome conversation. I'm glad we was able to
Absolutely.
jump on and chime in about this because the more I kept reading on it, the more interesting it was. So I'm thankful for everyone that joined in. Please drop your comments, like, share, let us know your thoughts about this. This definitely created quite a storm on the internet for Miss Monique, but just know that she's not canceled in my book. What about you,
No.
Stace? Nope, not at all. And so again, it's about love and relationships, y'all. What's your love language? Visit our website, take the quiz at www.reigndropconvos.com and share your results. Know your love language. Know what it is that makes you tick. And I think even in a situation like this, it can kind of give you some perspective as to the way you receive communication
Mm-hmm.
from anybody that's a loved one of yours. So
Mm-hmm.
take that quiz and share your results on social media. We're looking to hear from you guys. Got
Because
anything else?
Monique's thing is actually I think that it's an act of service. I think that the
It
love
definitely she did
language,
a service. She did a
yes,
service. Yeah.
yes, that is actually a service. And so I need you to receive it as such.
Right. I like that. I like that. Well, this has been Michelle with Reign Drop Convos, and
Stacey,
you guys have an awesome night. We love you.
love you guys. Have a good one. Bye.